Hello, Florida. How are you? Hey, Fancy Nancy, you are number one tonight, girl. I'm telling you, it's your lucky night. Go buy some lotto tickets. Hey, Justice for Gabby, welcome back. I'm honored to have you in my live. Hey, Sikmet, how are you? It's always so great to know we have a secret weapon. Hi, Yvette. Yvette, I lost the clip that you sent me. I accidentally deleted it. I wish you would send it to me again because I want to make a live with it. So, all right. Hey, geez, Nana, welcome. Good to have you. Hey, Donna Burns. Hi, Teresa. Good to see you. Bernard, hi. Yeah, I saw your message last night. Very good to see you. Callie Connect, welcome, my friend. So I hope everybody is doing really well. We made it to Friday night, but I'm very sleepy. Um, so I'm not sure how long I can go tonight. Now I thoroughly enjoyed. Let me say this. Um, I I thoroughly enjoyed uh, talking about Kelly Cochran last night. So hey Iris, welcome. Hey Bebop. So what did you guys think about seeing seeing her Kelly Cochran speak? And then me calling attention to those behaviors and comments and characteristics that are associated with antisocial personality disorder or sociopathy or psychopathy. Did y'all enjoy that video? It ended up being fairly long, but it when you have a good model or a good lens from which to view these personality disorders, then they become really interesting. You can really begin to see them. And like I said, it's a fairly rare. Well, I don't know if I'd call it rare, but it's not common that someone comes in and they're a textbook image of a very specific personality disorder. Um, Normally you get those situations where people satisfy the diagnostic criteria, but maybe there's a few additional problems, maybe coming from, I don't know, maybe coming from problems like early trauma or ongoing depression or some kind of substance problem. And so the signs of the personality disorder sort of get a little um, overshadowed by some of the bigger clinical problems, right? But watching Kelly Cochran, this is a woman who is so ingrained in her maladaptive personality that she is like a textbook example of what antisocial personality disorder or psychopathy would actually look like. So it is. I'm glad we did it. The next one that I'm going to do, I want to do it tonight, but I am sleepy and I am feeling tired, and like you saw last night, they're fairly long, time consuming things. But the next one that I want to do is it's a interrogation, an interview with Kelly Cochran and the same investigator, but it's like 2 years later. And so Kelly has changed. She's been in jail all that time. And so their dynamics are much different. So I thought I would put that one up, and we can talk about it and talk about the techniques that the detectives use as they're questioning her and talking with her, because it's so interesting. I mean, they clearly have somebody that's working with them that is coaching them on how to talk with her and how to um, control what's happening. So tonight I'm tired, so we will do that probably tomorrow. Hey, Hyper Pisces, Jackie Hughes. Hey, Donna Burns, good to see you. Gigi, welcome. Hey, Kathy R. Okay, So what I want to do, you're looking at a picture of Dulce Mellender, and this is Kat's mother. She's actually a really beautiful woman. I have some other photographs of her when she was much younger woman, and she was actually gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous. And of course, we know that Kat is a very, very beautiful young lady. So of course, the mother is the same. So what I wanted to do, we've gone through the prosecution opening arguments. We looked at the defense for what it was worth, right? Which wasn't much, but we looked at the defense's opening arguments. And so I've also covered Kat and her testimony. And so now we're going to do Dulce. Okay? And I think I think after we do Dulce, I don't know if I'll add another one on Cat. I may go ahead and do Cress after we do Dulce. And then that should get us back into the live trial. They put an article out today that said that the plan is that they will be back in live trial on Tuesday, that nobody developed symptoms, right? So everybody's well, there's nobody got sick. And so on Tuesday, we should be back in live trial. And I believe, if I remember correctly, will that be day 7 of the trial? Do I have that right? Who knows? Do you know, Teresa? Hey, Rochelle, good to see you. Glad you're here. I think it's day 7. Yeah. So we're still, and remember, Doctora Latina, she is trying to catch up with all of us, and hopefully she'll be with us then next Tuesday night, so that we can kind of go over the live that happened that day, right? And I told her, if you go ahead and you catch up now, you'll be in good shape, because they're only about I'm going to guesstimate it's about halfway through the prosecution's case, because I have a timeline. Where is my timeline? We got a timeline. And so looking at the timeline, I'm kind of thinking that we've probably got another 4, maybe 5 days of prosecution. Then it's going to end up going over to the defense's case, which is going to be so interesting to watch. Who is looking forward to the defense case? If you're really, really, really anxious for Ms. Doral to get up and work her magic, put a 1. And the reason that I say that I'm really psyched to get to the defense portion of this, it's because I cannot imagine what her tactic is going to be. I do too, Yvette. Dr. Latina is wonderful. She's a great lady. Love her. And I'm so glad that she's back. I'm so glad. We need in the true crime genre for YouTube, we need creators where there will be dignity, right? That we need rational, logical, dignified discussion of these cases, because in truth, that's what we all really like. We all really enjoy the true crime stuff. We don't like all this drama. We don't like attacking other creators and gossiping and being hateful. That's not what we are here for. You know what I mean? Or at least it's not what I'm here for. And I don't want to be here's my other part of that. I don't want to be embarrassed to say, oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I talk about forensic psychology. I don't want to be embarrassed to say that. I don't want to be associated with people screaming and yelling and, being hateful. I don't want to be associated with that Jerry Springer kind of thing, right? So we want, you know what we want? What we need? We need more Stephanie Harlow. That's what we need more of. We need more of Zav Girl. We need more of Plunder. You agree? Or and Gray Hughes with his maps, and we need more dignity and integrity and less of the high school mean girl drama. I'm over. I don't want to be embarrassed about doing something that I enjoy. So, so I'm glad to have Dr. Latina back because she is such an interesting, person. So she can bring an awful lot to this. Believe it or not, crime has a great deal to do with mental illness. So okay, so we have a timeline. We've got a little bit more time left, and the case will be going to the defense. And I am motivated to see the defense get the case because I literally have no idea how Ms. Doral is going to manage this defense. I cannot imagine what she and Ms. Gonzalez are going to do. I just don't know what they're going to do. I've got some ideas. I think they may try to throw the kitchen sink and say, oh, well, it could have been this person, and it could have been this person, and it couldn't have been this person. They may just try to introduce the idea of reasonable doubt without pointing a finger at any one person, right? But I don't know. They may go the route of saying, no, the prosecution did not prove a single thing. And, we don't have to say anything. We don't have to prove innocence. And because they failed to prove homicide, we're done. We're going home. So it is going to be interesting to see how they manage this. I personally think he's toast. If you think that Chaz McDazzle is toast, put a 1. If you think that he may have a chance, put a 2. Just out of curiosity, and then we'll move on with our with our video. Tactics that defense attorneys use in trial. It will be so interesting, Teresa. The mean girl drama cheapens the entire community, as does stalking families of missing children. I could not agree more. You're absolutely correct. Okay, so many of us are eager to see what the defense is going to do. Yeah, and that that he is burnt toast. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Fancy Nancy. All right. So as I said, this is Dulce Mellender. This is Kat's mother. Beautiful woman, but we knew she was beautiful. Kat's beautiful, right? So our timeline, let me take a minute to talk about this in general. I was really blown away when I realized the date of this crime. Because you're looking at a case where you've got 2 murders, right? The crime actually took place, they believe, January the 1st into the morning of the 2nd, 2021. Yeah, 6 months ago. When have you ever heard of a giant case like this coming to trial in 6 months? It's kind of crazy. So Bart Halderson is the name of the father, and Krista Halderson is the mother. They were the parents of 2 children, Chandler and his older brother, Mitchell. Mitchell graduated college, got a good job, has a nice girlfriend, and is purchasing a home. He's just living his best life. Chandler, on the other hand, has invented a pretend life. He lied to his parents. He lied, apparently, allegedly, to his girlfriend. And he claimed that he has been going to college for 3 years. He is just about to graduate from college. He has accepted a job with SpaceX and will be moving to Florida, and that he has been making money for the past year with an insurance company. But on the day of Bart and Krista's death, Bart Halderson uncovered Chandler's secret. He actually got on the telephone and talked to people at the college, and the people at the college said, "What? No, we don't have a Chandler Halderson enrolled here. No, Chandler Halderson is not going to be graduating. No, Chandler has no transcript. He was enrolled one semester and he failed his classes." So Mr. Halderson recognizes, I've been had for 3 long years. My son has been a liar. Now, there's a lot of liars on this planet. Sometimes it comes in the form of a 23-year-old kid, little antisocial, sociopathic little kid who's too lazy to work. And sometimes it comes in the form of a jealous, kind of odd, middle-aged woman. But the liars of the world are, in fact, out there. And on this day, it would appear that when Bart Halderson said, "Hey, son, it's time for us to go to our meeting at the college," Chandler put a bullet in his father's back. That wasn't all he did. He allegedly cut them up into pieces small enough to put into the family fireplace. In fact, they found the bones of his mother and father's skulls in the family fireplace. They even had video in July of a roaring fire happening throughout the night of July the 1st into the morning hours of July the 2nd. The whole neighborhood smelled a burnt, nasty smell. But what Chandler did do is something that we've begun to debate. And that was, he loaded up his father's torso. Just his torso, nothing else. In fact, Mr. Halderson still had his pants on with a belt. But it was just the torso. No head, no arms, no legs. He gets this torso and he drives out to Cress and Dulce Mellender's farm. He drives over to the tree line. He tells the women he's going to go for a swim because he's had a bad day. But instead, he bypasses the barn and he goes over to the tree line and he's gone. And they guess different amounts, but they're thinking around an hour, maybe a little more, he was gone. And when he came back, he was all sweaty. He was kind of weird acting, kind of detached. And he jumped into the swimming pool with them and basically took a bath, rinsing himself off, rinsing, not swimming, not relaxing, not passing the time of day, but literally wiping the body fluids and the sweat off of him from having taken his father's torso and dumped it just off the tree line of Crescent's family farm. When the police inevitably ended up at the farm, it was curious because not only did they find the torso of his father, and it really wasn't hidden. That's the crazy thing about it. He didn't try to bury it. he didn't really even try to do a very good job covering it. It's almost like it was laid out there to be discovered. And you know what else the cops picked up? They picked up a plastic grocery bag. You know, like when you order groceries and then you go pick it up and you've got your items in the little, thin plastic bag. But this was a pickup order. This was a curbside pickup order. And it was Kat who had ordered the items at Chandler's request. And so that plastic bag, it had a sticker on it with Kat Mellender's name. And what was inside that plastic bag that the cops found on the family farm? Well, it was a bunch of tissues and rags. They weren't clean. They were covered in the blood of Bart and Krista Halderson. There's a big shed, there's a big shop for storage and whatnot there next to the home. It's all filled with all kinds of things like old toys, boxes full of old clothes, wood, tools, just any manner of things. It's their storage shed, right? It's big, though. It's like a big barn. Now, the police have gone up on the stand, multiple cops, and they said, oh, yeah, we searched that barn. We didn't find a gun, but we damn sure searched the barn that day. But for some strange reason, a few days later, or actually it was about 15 days later, Cress goes outside to her barn and she's doing some kind of little project, piddling around her family farm, doing something. And she ends up moving some plywood that was leaned up against the wall. And behind a bunch of pieces of plywood, there is a rifle. Now she checked. Hey, Dad, is it your rifle? No. So she got freaked out and she called the cops. She said, I don't understand this, but I just went out in my barn and there is a rifle there and it does not belong to our family. So they came back out and they collected this as a piece of evidence or potential evidence. It turned out that it was, in fact, Chandler's high-powered rifle. It's the rifle that his gaming friend from the Middle East brought to him when he came back to the United States and got out of the Air Force, who's from Florida. Andrew, I believe is his name. And he actually came up and visited Chandler and gave him this gun. It was symbolic, apparently, because when they would play these first-person shooter games together, the gun that Chandler always picked was this same type of rifle. And they compared the ballistics. And it's the same rifle that shot Bart Halderson in the back. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Everything I just said to you, does this sound like someone was trying to set up Crescent and Dulce? What do y'all think? I think on hindsight, he literally tried to set up Cress and Dulce. Is psychopathy on the rise, or do we just hear more now because of the internet? It's definitely on the rise. It's definitely on the rise. I think it was a setup too. I think that was his reasonable doubt. I think he was trying to frame them, and that would be his ticket to reasonable doubt. Hey, Betty Barclay, welcome from South Wales. Okay. Now then, so I do think that may come out in the defense. I think. All right. Now I did show we did talk about Kat, and I did show how she looks so terrified on the stand. She is caught in a lie on the stand. But I did have some people that sent me a photograph that they believe proves that some of the furniture was covered in sheets. It like in the months before the murders. So that's kind of open as to whether or not she actually lied. But what I can't understand is this. Mitchell knows it's if his mother and father covered the furniture, right? He knows. And the twin girls, Hannah, remember them? They know. They were like the sisters of the family. So I don't know. It's still weird, but that somebody did send that to me. All right, so let's see what Dulce has to say. So what she's talking about now is he's asking if she knows if Chandler ever worked. And she's saying, "Oh yeah, yeah. He was a diver for the police." That was a lie. He was not a diver, and he never helped the police do anything. Hey, reflections of my life. This is okay. So the guy that's on trial, his name is Chandler, or they call him Chaz. Okay, he has a girlfriend. Her name is Kat, and this woman is Kat's mother. She and her fiance, who is another woman named Cress, they have a family farm, and they found the torso of the defendant's father on their farm. So Chaz used them to try and dispose of some of the remains, but I believe that he was trying to set them up. Yeah, it is Chandler's girlfriend's mother. And she's very, very nervous. I agree, Chris Walker. So I think this was interesting. So she's saying, that he brought Kat home one day. She had hurt her back doing something. When he brought her home, that's when he asked her if he could marry Kat. Right? She says that she was worried. They say, how did you feel about him asking, to marry her? So I was very worried. And prosecutor said, well, why? Why are you worried? She said, because it's my only daughter. So for me, I'm thinking, but wait a minute. Why would you be worried? She marries a guy who is about to graduate from college. He's just gotten a great job at SpaceX, going to move to Florida. What would be the thing that you would be worried about? So I'm kind of thinking more and more that not everyone believed Chandler. You know what I mean? I think that Dulce and Cress, I think they were on to him. I think they recognized that he was off, that he wasn't the great guy that he was giving the impression of being. Oh, you don't have any why don't you have any video? Oh God, hold on. I don't want to go back and play all that, but y'all can hear me. I know. I see what y'all are saying now. Hold on. Let me see why it didn't work. Hold on. Okay, let me end this and then start back over here and see if I can get sound. Hold on. Okay, keep your fingers crossed. If you can hear it, put a 1.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The 4th of July weekend.
Okay, can you hear it now? No?
Yes.
You were living here in Madison at the time.
Oh. Hey, James Poof. Okay, great.
Was it your fiance?
Okay. So I believe that I explained everything, right? I explained and my position. I think I'm just going to keep moving forward. I don't think I'm going to go back to the beginning. Is that okay with y'all? If we just go from where we are here? Now that you say that, Dulce said she thought he was using drugs. Yeah, right, honey? I think that they didn't trust Chandler. I think that woman intuition, I think it was telling them something's wrong. That this guy is not really who he claims to be. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of like a synopsis, Miss H. Okay. You don't, but you can see the video, can't you? Can you see the video? Let's see. Oh, I see what you mean. Huh? How's that? Is that good? All right.
Yes.
Chris
Yes.
has a farm kind of in a rural area. Right?
Yes.
So it's Chris's farm, but you're engaged.
Yes. We got engaged in May.
In May.
Yes.
And Chris lives in that farm with her, the elderly farm.
Yes.
You go out there.
I live part-time there. Yes.
Judge, sorry again, but can we approach?
See?
Just happy that the kids were home.
This is the world's first reusable cotton swab. It removes up to 5 times
don't
more
look,
excess
don't look,
wax.
it's gross. Don't look, it's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. Catherine and James' friend used the pool. Yes. I don't know if Chandler got into the pool, but I think Chandler always was cleaning the debris. Yeah.
Cleaning the pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next day, do you know if Chandler went back to the farm on July 5th, which would be Monday?
Yes.
And how did you?
Okay, so at this point now, they believe that Bart and Krista died on the afternoon, 3:00 in the afternoon for Bart, on July the 1st. He was very busy trying to dispose of or prepare the bodies for disposal through the 2nd and the 3rd. He was doing a lot of cleaning. And now they're at July the 4th and then the day after, July the 5th. So just so you got that timeline in your head, when it is that he actually shows up to leave the torso. It's not bagged up. It's not like in a plastic, wrapped in a plastic sealed thing. It's a torso with a rope around it. It's the most bizarre. It's almost like, here, make sure that they find it. I mean, the birds, by the time that the police got out to the farm, the turkey buzzards were circling overhead. Now, does that sound intentional to you? I think he was trying to set them up. I really, really do. It is gross, Gigi. It's the most disgusting commercial. I don't want to see earwax. I cannot even imagine why they keep showing the silly thing. Ugh, it's horrible. Let's try to wipe it from our minds because it's traumatizing.
Because Catherine texted me.
Did you then go out to the farm?
I fly to the farm, yes.
Why do you fly to the farm? That's so fast.
I was just worried.
This woman does not trust Chandler Halderson. Her daughter texts her and says, Chaz is out at the farm with Cress. Why? And Dulce jumps in her car and, in her own words, flies to get out there. Why? Was she afraid of him? Why was she so concerned about Chaz being around Cress? Cress looks like a woman who knows how to take care of herself. You know what I mean? He's kind of this little wormy, squirrely little guy. She looks like she would be fairly competent to take care of herself. However, something in Dulce, she does not trust Chandler at all. She doesn't trust Chandler with her daughter, and she does not trust Chandler with her fiance. Why? Oh, yeah. The mom saw the red flags. They were popping off everywhere at Captain of My Soul. She knew there was something going on. She's not a very sophisticated woman, right? But her intuition was picking up on his mental illness.
Can I have 1 minute?
There's another bottle of water from the corner.
Oh.
I know this is small. Do you want?
See, I thought this was really an interesting moment here. Listen to the question they ask her right before she asks for a break.
Just happy that the kids were at home. Yeah. Catherine and James' friend used the pool. Yes. I don't know if Chandler got into the pool, but I think Chandler always was cleaning the debris. Just happy that the kids were at home.
Why do you fly to the farm? Not so fast.
I was just worried. Can I have 1 minute?
Okay, genius minds of the chat. What in the hell is that about? What happened there? She says, well, Catherine texts me, and tells me Chaz is out at the farm with Chris. And the prosecutor says, well, what do you do when you find out that Chaz is out there? She says, I get in my car and I fly. I drive so fast to get there. And he says, oh, okay, well, why? Why did you drive so fast to get there? And she says, can I take a break? Okay, y'all tell me what that is. What is that about? Why did she ask for a break? She even begins to cry. I don't know. I'm asking y'all. Someone educate me. What do you think it could mean? She was told something. She's afraid to talk. A cover. Maybe she's looking for a cover. I think she's worried about Cress being topless. Yeah, but at this point, she didn't know that Cress was in the swimming pool. She just thought Cress was just, working on her project. Can I have a minute? I think she knew. She's afraid to say what she is thinking. It's bad, whatever it is. I agree, Gigi. Okay. So do you think she needed a minute to get her story together? Did you think that this was a part of the story they didn't prepare? But Kat was also in doubt if she called her mom. Agreed, Lise. I mean, legitimately, Kat Kat probably texted her mom and said, Mom, what the hell? Chaz is at the house with Cress. Why? You think the daughter told her something? Well, see, now that's what I'm sitting here thinking, right, Justice for Gabby? I'm thinking, let's say, because it's now 4 or 5 days after the murder, right? What if Chaz told Kat a lie and said something like, oh, my dad was beating me and I accidentally killed him? Or I came home and my mom and dad, it was a murder-suicide. My dad killed my mom and then killed himself, right? He could have invented a lie in order to cover the fact that there were dead bodies at home. And so he tells Kat, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Help me. I need to think about what I'm going to do. And so when she sees that he's out there at the family farm, that would give her a reason to be afraid of him, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that give her a reason to say, Mom, he's out there with Cress? Wouldn't that make Dulce go, oh my God, he's killed his parents, now he's going to kill Cress? Do you see what I'm talking about? So the same way that I felt watching Kat's testimony, I don't feel like she is like a murderer. Not that at all. But I think she knew. And she was scared. She didn't know how to proceed. And with this particular situation that happened, hey, why were you flying out there? Like, what made you worried that you had to be out there? And she cries and says, can I have a break? That is highly suspect to me. Honey K says, if my boyfriend of 3 years asked me to buy hydrogen peroxide, a Swiffer wet jack, and ice, I sure as heck would want to find out why. Right? I mean, one day he's walking around with a neck brace on, and the next day he's hauling in 10-pound bags of ice for what? A party? Yeah. Kat is terrified, Miss H. The child is terrified. Welcome back, MJ. Good to see you. I think she was throwing up at the police station because she was nervous, MJ. She was scared. And I think she told everything she knows. I think she went in there and she said, this is everything I know. And that is why she doesn't have charges. All right. So let's see. Let's move forward or we will be here all night.
There's another bottle of water from the corner.
Oh.
I know those are small. Do you want to take them?
Yes.
Do you need a break?
Yes.
Do you think that you need more than just a few moments outside of the courtroom?
Just a few minutes.
Okay.
Right now.
I'll go ahead and excuse the witness. Don't talk about your testimony with anyone, but you can go back to where Ms. Brown is in the vestibule.
Go right this way. You forgot your mask. I'll grab it.
Yeah, she looks truthful, but just very, very frightened, right? And I'm going to tell you, I don't know how she can keep from wanting to claw his eyes out after he ruined her daughter's life. I mean, he scarred Kat.
If it's all right with the jury, we'll just stay. You can stand up if you need to or stretch. But I think if we excuse ourselves and
He's such a little
additional
creeper.
time, as you know better than I, how long it can take.
He's such a little creepster. I can't stand to even sit and look at him.
If we excuse ourselves and
Oh, I didn't.
additional time, as you know better than I.
Be like, those like
Hey guys, I'm so
Oh my
excited to tell you
God.
about this new product.
not look okay to me. But I didn't hear what they were talking until Chris says there was some news.
Okay. There was some news. Do you know what the news was? Did you hear Chandler talk about it? What was that news?
That he didn't get a job.
Which job?
The one in Florida.
Okay. Do you know why he didn't get that job?
Because he couldn't. He was supposed to be there, but his brother got sick, so he couldn't go. And
I agree,
the
Miss
next
H.
time he fell and couldn't go, and I think they couldn't hold the job anymore because he can't go. He couldn't fly to Florida.
Because of the fall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The concussion, his concussion was really bad.
What did Chandler ask to do, or what happened next at the farm?
Well, we were very supportive. We were like, he lost a good job, and I was worried about him putting on money for the apartment, and Chris and I were trying to find out how can we help him because he looked really, really like down and
Yeah, he had been cutting up his mom and dad for 4 days. He was down. This guy is a scary guy.
Did you all stay together, or did some point Chandler go somewhere else on the farm?
we were talking, and then after that he basically excused himself to go swimming.
And did he go by himself, or did you go with him at that point?
No, he went by himself.
Okay. What did you and Crest do while Chandler was swimming?
We were trying to figure it out how to help them, how to help him. He just got a concussion. I was very upset with Krista because why she wasn't to taking him that day. He has a doctor's appointment.
Did you hear what she said? She was angry with Chandler's mother because Chandler's mother was not taking good care of him, taking him to the doctor, helping him with the whole concussion problem. This is a sign of manipulation, right? When you are in a situation where you feel like, oh, well, that kid's real mom and dad are not doing what they're supposed to do, so now I have to step in. If you're being put in the white knight role, you're probably being manipulated.
You thought his mom should have been there.
Yeah. So we were talking about, as a mom, I was very upset with his mom.
How long? At some point, did you go down to the pool to check on Chandler with Crest?
Yeah, we were. I was asking Chris what we're gonna have for dinner. I bring chicken, and she was very upset. And it was a while.
How long do you think it was before you went down to check on Chandler at the pool?
I don't know, probably half an hour maybe, or a little bit longer, because I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But
Did you go alone, or did you and Crest go together?
no, we got together. Oh yeah, of course.
And how did you get down to that area?
We use a little car where we mowed the lawn.
A lawnmower?
Yeah, lawnmower. So I basically inherited the lawnmower that Papa used to use. And so we, like a two grannies going,
You were both on the lawnmower?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She's a
And
sweet
did you drive
lady.
down toward the pool?
Well, yes, we drove to the pool. Yes.
Tell me about where you went as you were driving.
What do you mean?
Yeah, where did you go first when you started driving down to the pool?
Well, we went to the pool. It's on a little hill. So we went and we didn't see Chandler swimming. We didn't see anything. So we turned right and, we saw the car and I thought he was sleeping.
Where was the car in relation to the pool? Was it close or farther away?
Oh,
Would it help if I showed you a map?
oh yes,
A photo?
sure.
Okay.
Oh, a photo. Yeah.
I have a huge photo of the farm.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to show you. I told you it was big. It's number 57. Is that the farm? From above?
Happy,
Like an airplane?
happy.
Yes, that is the shed.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the house, you cannot see it because it's a lot of trees.
Sure.
But can I point it?
Yeah, so here's what I'll do. Does this look to be like what the farm would have looked like back in July, except for all of these police cars that are kind of involved? But otherwise, is this what the farm looked like?
Yes.
All right, I'll move 57 into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
It is received. It may be published.
All right, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to you, okay?
Okay.
And you can stand up if you'd like. How about if you could you point, where's the driveway meet the road? Where's the entrance to that farm?
Right.
Follow it all the way down and right there? All right, I'll hold on to this. And where's the house? Can you point to that?
Oh, right.
You can kind of see the roof.
Yes, that is the house. This is the shed.
And where's the pool that we're talking about? Okay. Now, if you could, kind of standing off to the side so these folks can see you, if you could point to, maybe just take your finger and trace the way that you drove down to the pool on that lawnmower.
We always drove this way.
Okay. And the pool is here. Where did you say you saw Chandler's car?
Oh, about right here.
Okay. And you said you thought he was sleeping?
Yeah, the back of the car, the trunk was open, so I thought he was sleeping.
And did you drive your lawnmower? Did you folks drive over by that car to look in? And what did you see?
I saw something that was a little bit metal. It was like, when you put a car and it's like a little,
The ramp?
yeah, like a little ramp.
Okay.
Like a gray kind of.
Bill, you want to move the mic? It's really difficult to hear.
Sure.
Yep.
How about you take a seat real quick and we'll keep asking
And while we're
questions.
moving, let me just reflect for the record that if you think of the upper half of the picture and the middle of the upper half, the witness indicated that the road from the access road to the driveway to the house is in the upper middle portion of the half. You can see a small amount of roadway. She traced her finger through the woods, demonstrating that the house is within the wooded area in that upper quadrant, identified the swimming pool as a round shape, and indicated that the driving with herself and Cress on the lawnmower was from the area approximately where the house was down to the back of the shed, and indicated that the vehicle of Mr. Halderson was lower into the lower half of the picture, approximately where you can see some unidentified objects that don't appear to be cars. Is that accurate, counsel?
That's fair. Well, why don't you, if you could, one more time, point to where Mr. Halderson's car was when you drove down there?
That's the part I couldn't see as clearly.
It was right over here.
All right. And so we'll just say that is approximately 3 inches below the barn on the photograph.
Okay, so remember, I talked about how this evidence is sort of placed around Cress's family farm, but in a manner that is easily discoverable. Like he made no attempt to hide, or no real attempt to hide the torso and the gun. It was very superficial. But the bag of bloody rags was actually lying right out in the open, like begging to be discovered. But if you look, remember where she pointed, where you come off of this road here, you drive through the woods, you go past the house, then you have to go to the shed. This is the barn here. And he went on the other side where this pile of bee hives is located, and that's where he puts his dad's torso just into the tree line. So the turkey buzzards are already circling, and you can see the road runs parallel to this farmland. Anybody passing would have seen the turkey buzzards. This guy wanted the torso to be discovered. I believe he did. I really do. I think I don't know if he thought that he was going to try to get them convicted of the murders, but I think that he was trying to introduce evidence that there would be a reasonable doubt. All right, I want to fast forward a little bit here. Hold on. So we all agree Dulce is precious, right? She is very cute. Now this is
Refer to maintain
Chris.
your mask. I understand. Pull the microphone much closer.
I don't know what that is. Looks scary though. I guess her baby is choking.
I have trouble hearing you, and I'm really close to you. I'll ask you to do even closer, just so everybody who's a little further away can hear. And
So
you
this
can
is
hear the blowers
Chris.
around this morning, so the muffled sound a little bit. Thank you.
Okay.
Please proceed, Attorney Raymond.
Thank you. Could you please state your full name, both first and last, for the record, and then spell both your first and last name?
Crescent Lasai, CRESENT, L''SAI.
And Ms. Lasai, do you know somebody by the name of Dulce Mellender?
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
She's my girlfriend.
Okay. And does she refer to you often as Cress?
Yes, everyone mostly does. And you
Okay.
can as well.
And do you know somebody by the name of Catherine Mellender?
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
I know her through Dulce. She's her daughter.
And through Catherine or Kat, did you become acquainted with somebody by the name of Chandler Halderson?
Yes.
And the judge will probably ask everyone to remove their masks, besides you and the jury. But could you see Mr. Halderson Chandler in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
As you look at the faces, I'll ask everyone not in the jury box to lower their mask and then replace their mask, please. Go ahead and answer the question if you could.
Yes.
Could you just let us know where he's seated and perhaps the color of his shirt?
Well, he's sitting over across the room over there. He's got a blue tie on.
Okay, I'd ask the record to reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
It shall.
What sort of relationship did you have with Chandler in June or so of 2021?
This year?
Yes.
Well,
Last year technically because it's January, but yes.
true, yeah. Well, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with Chandler. I've been on through Catherine mostly. Most
Sure.
of the times I saw him were either get-togethers or through her.
Okay. And roughly, where do you live?
In Cottage Grove, in town.
In a rural part of Cottage Grove?
Yes,
And just while I approach you, I'm going to put my mask on.
thank you.
Nobody's ever complained I was quiet. I'm going to show you what's been marked and received as Exhibit 57. Is this an overhead picture of your property in Cottage Grove?
Yes, it is.
So your house, you can barely see the roof right there. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's in the wooded area.
Okay. And that's like the top half, almost right in the middle of Exhibit 57. And this is a barn or a shed?
Yeah, it's an old tobacco shed.
Okay. And right here, this is a pool?
Yes,
Okay. And all of this wooded area, is that your property?
yes,
And there's more property over here that's not shown.
true. That's correct.
What is on that property?
You mean the part that's unseen?
Yeah.
It's all grassy area. It's in the CRP program, a set-aside program, so it's just for wildlife.
So it's like wildflowers. Some people might describe it as like a briar, like little
Yeah,
bushes.
yeah, there's actually wild raspberries and things that can grow in there, right?
Before July 4th weekend, how many times approximately had Chandler been out to your property?
Oh, I couldn't say exactly. I could give you an estimate.
Sure, an
You know,
estimate is just fine.
Like 10 or 12 times maybe.
Okay. And did he ever come out there prior to the July 4th weekend by himself, or was he always with somebody else?
He always was with someone else. He'd never come out there alone before that I'm aware of.
Okay. And generally, I assume that was his girlfriend, Kat?
Yeah, she was always with him.
Okay. And prior to July 4th weekend, what understanding did you have as far as what Chandler did for a living?
Well, what I understood is he'd gotten a job at American Family. He was working there as far as I knew.
And did you have any understanding as if he was attending school or not?
I knew he had been in school, but I didn't know if he was going to school recently, but I knew he was in school. He was getting ready to graduate.
Okay. Do you see Chandler Halderson over the July 4th weekend?
Yes,
And what day did you see him?
on Sunday.
So July 4th itself.
Yes.
How did Mr. Halderson behave on that day?
Well, he kind of seemed a little lot not like himself. That
Can
makes
you
sense.
describe that? What do you mean by that?
He just seemed kind of off, like kind of weird, actually.
Okay. Um,
I mean, I remember asking him how he felt, because he just kind of seemed.
okay. You asked him how he felt. What did you remember how he responded?
Yeah, he just said, "Oh, I'm doing okay, or I'm doing the best that I can," and because he had an accident, he fell down the stairs or something. So I thought maybe it was because of the accident that he was acting off.
Sure. Was he displaying any physical symptoms on July 4th?
Not that I saw. No,
Was he wearing a neck brace at all on July 4th when you saw him?
no,
Did he act in any way that he seemed like disabled? Did he have any trouble walking or anything like that?
no, I didn't notice that.
Okay. Did you have any one-on-one conversations with Chandler on July 4th?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, shortly after he was done eating, our kids were sitting at the table in my family room, and they'd gotten up, and I was kind of walking towards the kitchen, and he approached me and asked me if he could have my phone number, my personal phone number, because he wanted to know if he could come and use the pool.
Okay. Did you give him your number?
So we know now on July the 4th, he's making plans, right? And MJ said a while ago in the chat that Kat was taking screenshots. She was watching his location, where he was, what he was doing. And he was showing up at these unusual or not unusual, but out of the ordinary places. And so she would take a screenshot. Later, she would almost imply, well, she didn't almost imply, she got really close to saying it, that she wanted proof of him being there. Like when he argued, he said, no, I wasn't there. Okay, so the reason that's important to me, the reason I'm bringing that out is because that shows me he already had an established pattern of lying with Kat. Right? Kat was she was accustomed to dealing with Chaz the liar. That's why she's I believe that's why she's taking the screenshots. Because if she had not taken the screenshots, then she would have said, "Hey Chaz, why were you out by the river?" And what would Chaz say? "Oh no, I wasn't at the river." "Yeah, you were, Chaz. I saw it on my phone. You were there." No. I don't know what you thought you saw, but you didn't see me at the river. I wasn't at the river. What's wrong with you anyway? Why are you talking to me like that? What are you accusing me of? Saying I'm at the river when I'm not at the river. What's wrong with you? Y'all heard that conversation before? So the fact that Kat is taking screenshots as he goes to these odd and unusual places, it's not something you would typically do, is take screenshots of locations of your family members unless you somehow felt like you were going to need proof of some type. So I think she knew he was lying. I think she was used to being gaslighted. I think she was used to saying, "Hey, Chaz, why'd you do this?" And his lying little ass would say, "Oh, well, I didn't do that. What are you talking about?" Right? So remember, when I first began talking about this trial, I was talking about the situation of, was there an existing diagnosis of conduct disorder or perhaps oppositional defiant disorder? Because if you're going to make a diagnosis in adulthood of antisocial personality disorder, then the DSM-5 says you need to have had a conduct disorder, or that there was behavior that would have satisfied a diagnosis of something like conduct disorder, right? So I'm kind of looking for that kind of evidence that maybe he has a history of lying and breaking the law and taking advantage of people, stealing money, yelling at people when they question him. And so I think little by little, we're beginning to see that I don't think Bart and Krista were fooled by him. I think maybe they thought, well, no, I bet he's going to school, but maybe he's making F's, or maybe he's dropping classes. I don't think that they believed that he was this stellar human being who was just kicking ass and taking names and just being successful. I don't think that at all. Most of us know when we live with a liar. Now, we may not say it. We may not confront our family member and say, I know you're a liar. But we get used to it and we just adjust, right? So I'm thinking now, after some of the things that we've learned through the testimony, I think Kat knew. She was invested in him. She probably thought he was going to make a lot of money. She knew his dad had a lot of money. And so maybe she was willing to overlook the lack of integrity. But in the end, she's the one taking screenshots of his location. Why? I think it was for proof. I think it was so she could say, hey, Chandler, why were you out by the river? Chandler, why did you go to Cress's farm? Chandler, why are you driving on the other side of the county road? I think she wanted proof, so he could not gaslight her and say, no, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I gave him my cell number and I also gave him my landline
Okay.
because I don't always answer my cell phone and I don't have voicemail on my cell phone.
Okay. Did you guys have any further discussion on that day?
I don't recall.
So obviously prior to July 4th, he didn't have your number to your knowledge.
Not to my knowledge, I didn't give it to him.
So on July the 4th, we know he's planning on disposing of some body parts there on Cress's farm.
Okay. And in all fairness, when you hung out with Chandler prior to July 4th, it was always with other people.
Yes.
Namely Dulce and her family.
Correct.
As of July 4th, did you have any knowledge about the whereabouts of Chandler's parents?
No, I didn't even know their names.
Did you know whether or not, had you heard any stories or anything about them being missing?
I
at this
agree,
point?
honey Kay.
Okay. Let's fast forward to the next day, Monday, July 5th.
Hi, DJ.
Did you have any interactions with Chandler on Monday, July 5th?
Yes.
What's the first interaction you had with Chandler on that day?
The first interaction was I opened up my window. I live in a two-story and I saw a car in my driveway. I came in from outside to get a drink of water and I saw a car and I didn't recognize the car. And someone was standing in my driveway and it was Chandler. So I
Okay.
opened the window because he was kind of standing holding his phone and looking around. And so I opened the window and I said, I asked him if he was okay. And he said, yeah. And I said, are you here to use the pool? And he said, yeah, would that be all right? And I said, yeah, sure.
Were you expecting Chandler that day?
No.
All right. So
And
do
it
you remember about what
freaked
time he showed up to
everyone
use the pool?
out
Just
that he was
approximately.
there.
It was in the afternoon. I just remember coming in. It was really hot that day. I was working on a project. And so I came in to get a drink of water. So it was probably mid-afternoon-ish, I would say.
And what was Chandler like when you talked to him right there about using the pool? Was there anything noteworthy?
You mean when he was in the driveway?
Yeah.
Well, he just looked a little kind of spaced out a little bit,
Sure.
That's why I was kind of, because he kept looking around and holding his phone and, like I said, I was just a little startled because I'm like, who's here,
Sure. Your property is pretty remote.
Yeah, it is.
And your property, just to clear things up, is in Dane County, Wisconsin.
Correct.
So what happened after you told Chandler he could use the pool?
Well, he drove up, because if you come, I live on a hill and when you come to the driveway, it's kind of in the middle of the hill. And so you have to drive further up the hill to where the pool is. So he drove up there.
Okay. Did you see at this time when he was going to use the pool, did you see at this time where he parked?
No, I did not see where he parked at that time.
Okay. All right. So do you guys have any further discussion before he goes to use the pool?
He did come down to where I was working on my project, which was putting on a ramp on my deck. I was putting a ramp so that my father and my brother could get up and down the deck in their on the scooter and the wheelchairs.
Okay.
And so when I was working on that, he'd come down. There's a hill that leads down to my house, and he'd come walking down that hill, and then we had a conversation.
What did you guys talk about?
Well, he was telling me about his
I absolutely
he said he
agree,
was at a doctor's
Bruce.
appointment. And so he was talking to me about what the doctor had said and what was going on.
Did he tell you when that appointment had been?
I don't remember.
Okay. What did he say occurred?
Well, he told me that he had like damage, and I asked him where, and he said in this area of his head. in the back of his head and
All right. So
that-
you put your hand right
yeah,
above
he
the top
said
of your neck.
back here, yeah,
Okay.
the back of his head.
Yeah, he of all the places that he could have gone to dispose of this, and he actually let me say this. He actually did dispose of body parts in two different locations related to the river. So he did have an opportunity to dispose of the torso at the same place he dumped the legs, right? The the only part of his mother that was ever found was one of her legs and part of another leg. That's all that they well, and some of her skull was found in the family fireplace. So he did dispose of a great number of her body parts, and they believe she was dumped in the river. Then he was caught down by the river. And so the question screams, why bring the torso of the father to Cress's farm? You spread all these other body parts all over the place. What was the purpose? What was the point? What was the goal of the torso out there on Cress's farm? Basically sitting right at the tree line, covered up with a few branches. It was only a matter of days before the decomposition you would have been able to smell it for 3 miles away. It was going to be discovered one way or another. So why do it? And you put your firearm out there. And you left a bag of bloody rags that had your girlfriend's name on it. I'm telling you, he set Kat and her family up. Or he tried.
Did he elaborate on what that damage was?
Well, he said it wasn't good, that they might have to do some surgery or something, and that he said he was having trouble like with numbers, and he said he got lost, he had to use a GPS, but he's just like said his mind was kind of messed up and wasn't thinking so well.
Okay. Did you guys discuss anything besides just his physical health?
Yeah, I asked him, how basically how he was overall doing and about his job, because he said was getting a new job in Florida, and I asked him about that. And
What did he say?
well, he said that he probably wasn't going to get the job, that some manager told him that it wasn't going to work out because of his injury, that he wasn't able to work. And then I asked him about maybe he could go back to American Family, and he said no, he didn't. He said that wouldn't happen, he wouldn't be able to do that. So he seemed concerned about, maybe not having a job and what was he going to kind of do. And I asked him, would he talk to his parents, maybe could he talk to them, or things like that, just to try to reassure him, because he just seemed upset about this news that he'd gotten from the doctor.
Sure. And what did he respond to that?
To what?
To talk to the idea of talking to his parents about his job and health.
And he said, no, they're still up north. And I just says, well, maybe it would help you to talk to them. And his response is, he says, no, they'll just be mad. And which seemed odd to me, why his parents would be upset with him that he was hurt.
Well, they wouldn't be upset with him that he was hurt. They would be upset with him that he was a complete and total liar and failure, that he had misled them for 3 years. Right? Now, we had this conversation the other day, and it was the question of, related back to Dulce, do we believe that Chandler is using drugs? Right? Like, that was the first thing that popped in Dulce's mind. Oh, I bet he's using drugs. He's got to be using drugs. Why is he here? What's he doing? He's so weird. You think he's using drugs? In fact, she even questions him. She says, I don't want you around my daughter if you use drugs. Little did she know there were things a hell of a lot worse than drugs, right? So I'm of the opinion that he would almost have had to have been using some kind of substance. Otherwise, how do you ignore that you're using all these lies to build up to a disaster of epic proportions, right? I mean, he didn't lie for a couple of semesters. He lied for 3 years, and he told people he was one class away from graduating. That is a lie that everybody is going to know that you told. You're not getting away from that lie. So he had to have been numb. That's right, AP. I am of the opinion that he had to have been using something that helped him not inspect his day-to-day life. You know, he was telling these lies in the moment to get his narcissistic supply or to get his parents off his back or make his girlfriend love him. But when he wasn't in those uncomfortable social situations, then he didn't want to sit around and think, damn, I'm such a loser. 3 years I've been lying about going to college. Nobody, 3 years, I'm such a liar. My real life bears no resemblance to the reality of who I am. None of the people in my life know who I really am. I live a complete and total lie. People don't want to feel that. People don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want to know that about themselves. It's shameful. It's embarrassing. So either he was drinking a lot or he was using some kind of drug. I think. And I think the fact that Dulce immediately jumps to the drug question, I think she was already having misgivings about. I don't think she liked the guy. I think that she did not believe in him. And maybe here's another part of the puzzle. Maybe Kat had expressed these same misgivings to her mother. Maybe she had said to her mom, you know, he claims he's in college, but I have literally never seen him study. He says he has a job, but I'm always the one paying for our dates. So I don't think that this is a situation that it initially looked like, where this kid successfully made everybody think that he was living a cool life and being a normal young adult. And then bam, he's unveiled as this, you know, big fat liar. I don't think it's that situation. I think he was telling the lies, but I think people were feeling the discomfort. I think they knew he was sketchy. All right. Hey, Scott, Southwest by West. How are you? Welcome.
Couldn't work. You know, it just seemed odd to me.
Okay. How long do you think this conversation took place?
Oof, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right. What happened after the conversation?
Well, I think I'm trying to remember. Dulce showed up. She'd come. I wasn't expecting her, but she had come to the house, and she came through the house. We were sitting on the deck, and she came and was like, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm just chatting with Chandler here, and I guess he doesn't have such good news." And then she came out and sat down and asked what was going on, and then we started to kind of go back over what him and I had talked about to explain to her what was happening.
Sure. And the jury's already had the opportunity to hear from Dulce, so I don't need you to repeat anything that she said.
Okay.
But what kind of happened next in the events of?
Well, then
that
he
day?
went to go use the pool because before he'd come down and I'd asked him, how was the pool? He didn't answer. And so he said he was going to go back to use the pool. And then Dulce and I continued to talk because we just felt something was a little odd, so we were concerned, and her and I had a conversation about him of what was going on.
Okay. And then what happened after that?
Well, I kind of got irritated. It was so hot and I wanted to go swimming, and I was waiting for him to be done using the pool so I could go jump in the pool. And so I was getting impatient and waiting, wondering what was taking him so long. So I said, look, I'm going to go get in the pool. I'm done. I'm hot and I'm tired and I want to go cool off. And she said, okay. So she went to go get her suit. And then her and I have this little riding lawnmower. And so we got on the riding lawnmower to go up to tell him.
I'm sorry. He's a creep. If you think he's a creep, put a 1. If you think he's just misunderstood, put a 2. Yeah, he's the kind of guy that when you look at him, you just sort of your skin crawls, right? Just a bad guy. So listening to Chris is a much different experience, I think, for me anyway, than listening to Kat or her mom. With Chris, you get the feeling she's just up there telling her truth, right? She's not having any anxiety or any trouble. She is just answering the questions, and she's not filtering her answer. She's not worried about, oh, what are they going to think if I say this, or what are they going to think if I say that? She's just frank. She's just honest, and it comes across. It's very, very comfortable. So after you see this, and you can feel how relaxed it is, and how much clarity there is, that when she answers, you're getting the truth, right? That really does kind of shine a spotlight on Kat and Dulce, and it kind of makes you think, what do they know that Chris does not know? So there's there's some fairly crazy dynamics going on in addition to the whole trial thing. And it's going to be very interesting to see if we ever find out all the details. I hope we do. I hope he gets sentenced to life in prison, no possibility of parole. And then, maybe Kat and Dulce write a book. But at the very least, maybe they'll go on Unmasked channel and Vanessa will interview them, right? Maybe we'll be treated to that. So I hope, because I really would like to know, did mom really like him? Or did she feel like he wasn't good enough for her daughter, that he was sketchy, that he was a little liar, that he had too many secrets?
Hey, we're going to go swimming now. And when we got up there, he wasn't in the pool, and the cover was still on the pool. And
Okay, so hold on. The pool has a cover.
yeah, I have like a solar. It heats up. It helps get the water warm, so it just lays flat on the top.
Sure.
They did
So
hide a lot. I
And
agree,
obviously you have to remove
Justice.
said cover to get into the pool.
Yeah, there's times I got lazy where I could fold it over just to get in, but I usually like to take it off so I could have the
Was
whole
it
pool.
folded over so somebody could get in at all?
No,
Miss
All right.
H
So
is
the
nodding in agreement.
Covers on the pool is Chandler in sight when you're over by the pool.
no.
Okay, and just is Exhibit 57. Here's the pool, the round blue. This is an aerial photo, so it almost just looks like a dot.
Right, that's the pool area.
Okay, so what do you do next?
Well, when we drove up, and you could kind of see no one was in the pool, and I was looking for him, and then when I looked to my right, when we came up the hill, I had the doors open in the shed, and I could see through the shed that his car was parked on the other side of the shed.
All right, can you approach Exhibit 57 here and kind of point to where you saw Chandler's vehicle?
We came up, there's a hill here, and we came up, and you could see through the doors.
You
The car was parked right up here.
Okay, thank you. So he was parked kind of near, this is some wood and an oil drum.
Yeah, there's a pile of timber logs, and then it's like my scrap junk pile for the metal and things.
Fair, and it's kind of near the wooded line here. Okay, all right, so I'm not the best estimator, Judge. I would say 4 inches south of the barn, maybe 1 inch above the oil tank on Exhibit 57 is the area that the witness pointed.
That seems to be a fair description. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have you sit down just so we can hear you nice and loud on that microphone.
Okay.
So what do? You see his, oh, well, hold on one second. Do you remember what kind of vehicle he was driving that day?
It was like a little station wagon, like a hatchback.
Okay.
It might have been a Subaru, I'm not sure.
Okay, do you know, was the hatch open, closed, something else?
The back hatch, the back was open.
Okay. All right, so that's where you observe the car, the back hatch, or if you're not a car person like me, you say the trunk was open. What do you do?
Well, yeah, because we go and he's not in the pool, and we see the car, and then I'm like, what the heck is going on? What is he doing? And I said, well, I'm going to go over, and Dulce was like, we were like, what's he doing? What is going on?
Sure.
So we drove over to see if he was in the back of the car. Was he sleeping? What was he doing? Was he smoking weed or something? We didn't know. So we drove over there and with the mower and approached, and I drove to the back of the car because the back end was back towards me.
Okay, so the back end was facing closer to the barn or the oil drum?
Towards me. the front end was facing the shed.
Oh, towards you right now.
Yes, towards
Okay,
me
so
right
toward
now.
the woods, towards the wood
Yes, it
line,
was facing this way.
the trunk patch
Was
is
up.
up.
So
Okay.
we drove in the mower and drove to the back of the car because I thought maybe he was in the back of the car
Sure.
taking a nap or I don't know. And we look in there and there wasn't anything in the car that we could see.
Okay. And at this point, you see the car, it's empty, or there's no Chandler in it. Do you see
What?
Chandler anywhere on your property?
No, because then we stopped and we're like, what the heck? We're looking around. What's he doing? Where is
Why do you think they didn't smell? I know that sounds horrible, but why do you think they didn't smell the decay? Remember, he died on the 1st. This was all happening on the 5th. It would have smelled very bad. I mean, they even say that there were maggots and such. So if they drove all the way over there and he had the torso laying in the back end of the car, why? I wonder why they didn't notice a bad odor in the air. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, he had them in the freezer. That's true. Yeah, maybe. Well, you could be right. Yeah, Miss H. Maybe that's stopped the decay from happening, right? Yeah, you could be right. You could be right.
he? And Dulce was kind of upset at that moment because she's thinking maybe he's doing drugs or something. She was really upset, thinking, well, he's doing drugs or something. What the hell is he doing? So I said, I don't know, but I'm done. I'm going to get in the pool. I just was hot and irritated and just didn't want to deal with it. And so I said, I'm going to the pool. So we left and drove and parked the mower by the pool.
Okay, so you took your mower
Drove back
over by the pool.
and parked and then proceeded and got in the pool.
Okay, so you're in the pool. When is the next time you see Chandler?
Do you want me to show you on that map?
Absolutely, I would love that. Why don't you do it and then I'll say it again so it's in the mic.
We were in the pool, and I'd say it was right approximately in this area. He was walking this way towards us, coming towards us. I thought maybe he was going to the car, but then he was in this car and kept coming towards us.
Okay, so why don't you sit and I'll try to say it again in the mic. So you saw him, you kind of pointed, there's some white, I don't know what that is. It
I
might
don't
just
know.
be
Oh, those
wood.
are old beehives.
Oh, okay,
I got
so-
a bunch of beehives that I cleaning out my shed, and they were old, and I just threw them out there.
Okay, was he kind of coming from that area?
Yeah, he was walking like that direction, like towards that way. Yeah,
All
coming
right,
that way.
and his car was here, but he walked past his car, you said,
Yes,
and then walked over by the pool?
right.
Okay, do you remember what he was wearing?
Like baggy shorts. He had a shirt on, I thought before, and when he came back, he didn't have a shirt.
So when he was approaching the pool, coming out of the wooded area, no shirt.
Right.
Okay. All right, so he's approaching the pool. Does he actually get up to the pool?
Yeah, he came up to the pool. And I said, hey, Chandler, I don't have a shirt on.
Sure.
Because I go shirtless in my pool. That's kind of why I was waiting for him to leave, because I wanted to have the privacy to get in my pool.
Sure. Okay, you tell him you don't have a shirt on. What happens next?
And he said, well, if it would be all right, I'd like to get in the pool. I'm kind of sticky and I'm hot. And I remember looking at Dulce because I want to be respectful. And I said, well, I don't have a problem with it, Dulce, if you don't. And she just kind of was shrugged and, kind of could tell she didn't really like it, but she just kind of turned and was sort of like, whatever. And so I said, okay. And so then I kind of turned and he got in the pool. And he went to the east side of the pool and we kind of went to the west side of the pool.
Okay, and was he actively swimming or
No,
something
he
else?
just kind of dipped up and down and kind of was like washing, like himself off. He said it was kind of scratchy on his walk and it was itchy and sticky. So he was kind of like,
So you did a motion with your hands and you
he
said the
kinda
word
was-
wash.
Yeah, like he'd dunk down and then he'd kind of like, be doing like this and dunk down and kind of,
Yeah, he was
Okay.
wiping all
Kinda
the
washing
evidence
himself,
off.
rinsing himself off.
yeah. And then it was odd because he just seemed really different when he got in the pool from when he was talking to us before.
Different how?
Well, he seemed more lucid, like he just seemed more present,
Did you say present or pleasant?
like focused.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, what happened next?
Well, then Dulce was starting to ask him questions because I think she was concerned maybe he was doing some drugs. And I think she just wanted to sort of see if he was. So she started asking him questions and things like that to see how he would respond. Because while he was gone and we were in the pool, that's what she spoke to me mostly about, is what's going on with him. I'm worried. I don't know why he's acting this way. What's he doing? And so
Just to clear this up though, no paraphernalia or any evidence of drugs was ever
none,
found.
no, never.
Okay.
And he admitted, that was one of the questions. She says, if you're doing drugs, Chandler, I'm telling you right now, that's a deal breaker. And if you ever come, and he said, I will never, ever bring drugs to the house, or I don't do drugs. She
Okay, I just wanted to clear that
yeah,
up.
she confronted him about that.
Okay, what happens next?
Well, we just started talking, she was worried, where was he going to stay? Because he thought he lost his job. And she was offered to say he could stay maybe at her house in town for a while if he needed to.
Pardon me, I have to interrupt here. This is all hearsay.
Agreed. I'll go ahead and ask to rephrase the question, and those last responses
Sure.
fall in that category.
Outside of specifics of the conversation, how long was Chandler in the pool?
Oh, maybe 15 minutes-ish, roughly.
All right. And at some point, does he get out of the pool first, or do you?
Oh, he got out first. He said he was in a hurry. He had to go. That Catherine was getting dinner or something, and so he was like on a mission and had to let's go. And then he got out and went to the car and drove off.
Okay. And his car that he went to was over there by the oil tank near the wood line?
Right.
All right. I just want to back up here a second. You said at first, when you first talked with him on the deck when you were working on a project with Dulce, he then left to supposedly go swimming, and then you didn't see him until he walked out of the wood line later. What was the time gap between the time he said, I'm going to go to the pool, and the time he actually went to the pool?
The first time or the second time? Or all together?
All together. So the time you were on the deck working on your project.
And he showed up, and
right.
by the time
and
he
then
left?
From the time he left you at the deck area until you saw him walk out of the wooded area.
Oh.
About what was the time frame in there?
I'm guesstimating, maybe 45 minutes, an hour-ish, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a guesstimate.
Okay.
It was a while. Like it just to me, it seemed forever because I wanted to get in the pool.
Sure.
So it just seemed like a long time.
And then after he got out of the pool, he got into his vehicle and drove away.
Yeah.
Now, later that day, did you find out that he actually had attempted to contact you prior to coming to your property?
Yeah. Later, I remember seeing the message was blinking on my landline. And so I pressed it, and then a name came up, and I didn't know I didn't recognize the name. And then I heard Chandler's voice. So he had left me a message, but I didn't realize it until after he'd come and gone, and I listened to it later.
So he left you a message or a voicemail?
Yeah, and saying he wanted to come and could he come and use the pool?
And did you turn that message or voicemail over to the Dane County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I did.
And did you turn over a true and accurate copy of that message?
Yes, it's still on there right now.
Okay. I would at this time move Exhibit 64 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
And I would ask to publish the message to the jury.
You may.
This is supposed to be going on. Okay.
The screen in front of you shows what the jury's seeing.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you. That's right there.
Hi, Seth, this is Chandler. I just got back with some pretty terrible news from my doctor, so I was wondering if I could come by. I don't know, take a couple laps to the pool or hang out, something. I'm not having the most ideal day, I suppose. So call me back, 90838-4549. Thank you. Bye.
I mean, this kid is cold as ice, right? He's a shark. He's a snake. There's no emotion in him, none. This is a really good lesson not to judge a book by its cover. There are monsters out there, even though they're supposed to be human. There are monsters out there, and he's one of them.
Monday, 4:25 p.m.
And this was message 116.
Yeah.
Okay. On July 7th, the next day, that Tuesday, did you receive any communication from Chandler?
Not directly from Chandler, no. But I'd heard otherwise that he was trying to come out, and I was having trouble with my phone for some reason, wasn't working my landline, and I was kind of feeling stressed and didn't really want to deal with anybody at the farm that day.
All right. And so did Chandler end up coming out on the 7th?
No.
Or I'm sorry, that's the 7th. Okay. Later in the course of this investigation, various items were found on your property that you were made aware of. Is that fair?
Yes.
Let me inquire, counsel. I think the jury entered at 8:45. We're a little over 90 minutes long. This might be a good moment to break.
Sure. That's
Just because we're moving into another subject area and we still have cross-examination. I don't want to.
Okay. So, he's so flat. Yeah. So his affect is super flat. Everything he says is really self-serving. Notice he puts on that act of being so socially appropriate and normal, but he's anything but normal. I mean, this guy's a monster. So, I don't know. The reason I wanted to play this tonight is because we'd been having this conversation. We'd watched the video with Kat, and there were some things there that made me a little uncomfortable. Watching Dulce, you can see she too has these unusual moments like Kat does, where she seems afraid. But then you watch Chris, and there's none of that with her. I mean, she is just a fact witness. She's just telling what she knows, right? I just really think that there's a good possibility that Kat may have confided in her mom and said, I'm scared maybe he did something to his parents. You know, we don't really know what it could have been, but it wasn't normal for Dulce to jump in her car and go flying out there just because he was out there with Cress. Cress is an adult. Look, she can handle herself, right? So I don't know. I do think that if he ever had any kind of friends or schoolmates come out of the woodwork and start talking, I think we'd find out that he was a horse's ass. He was probably a delinquent. He was probably doing a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking. He probably was. So we may never know, but it's just kind of the way I think about these things. So, all right. So I'm just kind of trying to keep us current and up to date on this case while we're waiting for day 7 to get underway. That will be happening on Tuesday, as long as everything keeps going well and nobody's testing positive for the COVID. They will be back in the courtroom on Tuesday. All right. So I'll plan something for tomorrow. I'm not sure what's going to be. Maybe the witnesses for the house fire. I may put up some of the witnesses tomorrow, and we can kind of watch that a little bit. Okay. All right. Thank y'all so much for spending the evening talking about trials with me. I appreciate it so much. I hope you'll leave a comment. Tell me what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole thing. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you haven't subscribed to the channel. I hope you will consider it. And feel free to share any of my videos on your social media if you want to. All right. Okay. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.